So let me know whenever you're ready, and then I guess we'll be good to go.
Yeah, we're ready. We're good to go.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so everybody, I'm Hargun, as Sonia mentioned. I'm just going to talk to you a bit today about resume building and things like that. So I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. I'm from Mumbai originally as well. I moved to Toronto when I was 16 years old. And I went to University of Toronto here and did a Bachelor of Science. And I worked quite a few jobs throughout university. I started my very first job at McDonald's. I used to work. No jokes. I used to work in the kitchen making breakfast, and then I worked a lot of jobs at the mall. And then I finally got my current job. I work at called the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, so it's a government job that I work now. And I work as a food risk analyst. So I analyze where inspectors should go do inspections and work those things out. And so yeah, that's a little bit of a background about myself. I guess I'll dive right into it then. In terms of key things that I learned in my short career so far, I would say, to kind of take me to where I am in terms of resume building and writing cover letters and things like that. So I think the main thing I would say was the main thing I realized over time, because out of university when I graduated, it was quite difficult getting a job because there was a lot of competition, and it was just a little bit after the recession had hit Canada as well. So you wanted to make sure that whatever you were putting out there to employers, you were kind of differentiating. You wanted to make sure you set yourself apart from everybody else. So what I realized is the main thing to do is to focus on the job poster that they've done. Read that very carefully. Highlight things in there that are the key things that they're looking for. So make sure you tailor your resume to their requirements. Employers are usually looking at hundreds of resumes, if not more, at a time for one job. So you want to make sure that you're making the process as easy for them. So you have to kind of look at it from their perspective. So make sure you use keywords that they've used in their poster. So if they're looking for certain types of skills, certain experiences, and I can show you guys, I brought up a few of my old resumes as well, so I can do a little share screen after and kind of walk you through what sort of I kind of put in there as well. And so yeah, use keywords, categorize your experience actually. This might be maybe a good time for me to do that. Let's see if this works. This is my first time doing a Google Hangout, by the way. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if we can do this.
It should be on your left side, the green button, share
Yes.
screen. Yeah.
Okay, share. There we go. Okay. So let's see what we have here. So here, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is sort of one job application that I've pulled up here. And what I do usually when I'm going through an application is I try to highlight things that I know that are important. So things that I have to mention in my application and keep in mind. So, who can apply, what to make sure to apply, I had to make sure that I was legally entitled to work in Canada. So these are things that are important that they want us to mention in the application. What's the deadline? To make sure I get it all in. And then the qualifications. So they want, written evidence that you meet these requirements that are listed below. So Uh, and in addition to your resume, like I try to keep the resume brief because most of the details can go in a cover letter, for example.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we have enough time to get into all of that today, but maybe if I can try to come back and give you guys some tips on that as well, perhaps. So, sort of what kind of education you have. So, and another thing to keep in mind, like try to tailor your resume to the same format as the application. If they mention education first, put education in your resume first. So this was my resume that I wrote up for that particular job. So I have my name at the top there. Your contact information should go right below your name. So they asked, they wanted to know what my education was. So right at the top, I just told them what my degree is in. And even if you've specialized in a certain degree that's not directly related to the job, you could have taken courses throughout your education that could be applicable. So it's okay to mention something like that, so they'll know it's not, even though your degree is not specific to that job. Um, there's coursework that can apply. And then each of these three experience bullets that they've highlighted, so they wanted supervisor experience, experience on training people, and all kinds of things. So what I tried to do was use those same bullets throughout my experience. Start that as like a title almost, and then anything that's relevant to that, kind of add that in there, so they know exactly where to look when they're looking for things. So anything, I think another thing I realized too is like each of us are different in our own way, and we bring different things to the job and to an employer. So doesn't matter what we did in our experience, in our education, anything can be applied in a different way. So be creative with your responses. Like don't try to think outside the box a little bit, and use what you did creatively to fit their needs. And then some of the abilities, so I find like any resume has three sorts of main sections. You want to highlight your knowledge, which is your education, your experience, which is your professional development and your work experience, and then your abilities or your soft skills. So and your personal suitability. So how would you fit into their organization? Do you have the right skills? Do you have ability for leadership, communication, those sorts of things? And feel free to stop me, guys, anytime if you guys have any questions. But I'll show you guys another. And another thing I try to do is I try to make one generic resume, so which has everything that I kind of want to, and kind of keep that updated on an ongoing basis, because it's hard to remember things you do sometimes. So I tried. This is, as you can see, this is 4 pages, but I wouldn't usually send this to an employer because no one's gonna sit there and read through 4 pages of my resume. They don't care, then it's fine. But this I can go back to this and use this to pull out things that I can apply to other places.
Yeah.
So these are like sort of the main outlines here that I include. So if a small career profile kind of just highlight the main points if necessary. My education, all the professional experience, how I contribute to the organization, my skills and abilities, which is, personal suitability and soft skills, any languages. So if you think, you speak multiple languages and that might be beneficial to the employer, then you can highlight that as well. And references if they requested it at the top, or you can say available if you need it. So that's sort of how I try to approach it. And then when it comes to actually applying for one position, you'll see it kind of chunks it down to 2 pages at the most. I would say it's like as much as kind of I'll stop sharing my screen. I think I'm done. But, yeah, 2 pages at the most is what's usually recommended. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to kind of highlight. Sonia, I was thinking if I don't know if it's beneficial, but maybe I can share like a template with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. किसके पास यहाँ पे CV है? So
do you guys have any questions?
किसके पास I'm asking them who has a resume to see if like Canadian resumes are like kind of similar to Indian resumes. तुम्हारे पास CV है? अभी नहीं है, पर आपका CV कैसे दिखता है? Same?
No.
It's different?
Yeah.
Okay. और किसी के पास CV है? नहीं 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 अभी नहीं, पर घर पे है CV? Okay. So yeah, that template would be great because only out of the 5 students here, only 1 person has a resume.
Yeah, no problem. I'll share a template with you guys, and
Yeah.
you can kind of
So,
use that to
Ma'am
build
is
on
going
it,
to
for
give
sure.
us a template और तुम लोग इस template से काम कर सकते हो. So आपके पास कोई question?
मुझे भी हिंदी आती है थोड़ी बहुत, मैं को भी बोल मुझे.
Yeah.
He's laughing at back.
You guys can ask
इतनी
ma'am in
बुरी
Hindi.
भी नहीं, इतनी बुरी भी मेरी हिंदी नहीं.
Yeah, she's from Bombay, guys. Okay, so you guys have questions?
Amchi Mumbai.
Yeah. In our resume, can we write any specific subject? If it is compulsory or not?
So adding subjects to the job description to relate to it.
Like
Ma'am,
for example, like entire communication or communication skills and all. There are like other languages.
तुम क्या पूछना चाहते हो?
मतलब इसमें कंपलसरी है क्या ज्यादा?
Is it important to put like all your skills and all the languages you speak? Like, is that something that you should be? Really?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to answer it. But, it's not. I would say it's not compulsory. It's more again, read the poster is more important. So if they said it's a second language skill, like you should know how to talk in a second language, then highlight that. If they haven't mentioned it, then it's not. If it's a customer service kind of job that you're applying for, sometimes that's beneficial. So in customer service industry, people like if you speak different languages. So if you run into a situation where someone is not fluent in one language, then it helps. But so always think of it in that perspective. So say you're applying for job. Like for example, when I applied for my first job, it was a microbiology position. But my education was mostly in chemistry. So I did very few. So my degree is called specializing in chemistry. But I didn't want them to not look at my resume just by looking see, oh, she's chemistry, she doesn't know anything about microbiology, and then I get screened out at the beginning. So that's why I highlighted any coursework that I did that helps. So I put in all the microbiology courses that I did, and use that in there. So that way they could be like, okay, her degree is in chemistry, but she has the knowledge a little bit in the other field as well.
So ma'am बता रही है कि जब वो job description आती है तुम ये read करके highlight करना पड़ेगा क्या क्या चीजें they're looking for. So ऐसे highlight करके तुम customize करोगी आपका resume. So for example मैम ने कहा वो chemistry में major किया पर ये job microbiology. So वो लिखा वो she majored in biology or chemistry, but courses microbiology किया. So relate करती है. So whatever, it depends on what the job description is, right? Like if the job description is asking for specific, like for example, job description यही है तुम लोग Marathi, Bengali, Gujarati speaking ability है, फिर तुम ये. So whatever the job description says, it's like you kind of have to cater it to it. And you have to kind of look at it and add it. Like for example, ma'am ne kaha na, whatever outline of the job description they give, you should follow that. So first, they पूछते education. तुम्हारे CV में education first लिखना है. फिर about the position, the experience के साथ ये भी लिखना है. ठीक है? और कोई questions है हरगुन मैम के लिए? बोलो.
मैम मतलब अगर हर एक जॉब के लिए अलग अलग रिज्यूम रहेगा मतलब जो हम बनाते हैं नॉर्मल एक स्पेसिफिक रिज्यूम जैसे नाम अपना एज बर्थ डेट और क्वालिफिकेशंस एक्सपीरियंस और और अगर एक्स्ट्रा कुछ किया रहेगा तो वो ऐसा नॉर्मल रिज्यूम नहीं चलेगा कि अलग अलग इसमें अलग अलग रिज्यूम.
वही that's the hardest part. मतलब जॉब एप्लीकेशन का hardest part होता है कि हर जॉब के लिए रेज्यूमे टेलर करना चाहिए, कस्टमाइज करना चाहिए. क्योंकि अगर जेनेरिक रेज्यूमे मतलब इट्स गुड टू हैव अ गुड जेनेरिक रेज्यूमे कि मैं मेरे पास भी लंबा वाला मेरा पूरा सीवी है जिसमें मैं सब अपना एक्सपीरियंस रखा हुआ है. लेकिन अगर स्पेसिफिक जॉब के लिए अप्लाई करना है मैं तो हमेशा लगता है कि इट्स easier to for the employer जो हायरिंग कर रहे हैं उनके लिए इजी करना चाहिए. अगर उनके पास ज्यादा टाइम नहीं होता वो एक रेज्यूमे के ऊपर 5 से 10 मिनट से ज्यादा नहीं देखने वाले. तो अगर आपने अपना रेज्यूमे उनके लिए बनाया है तो उनको भी अच्छा लगेगा कि हाँ अच्छा ये इजी है रीड करने के लिए, इन्होंने हमारे बारे में सोचा है और इनको इंटरेस्ट है जॉब में इसलिए उन्होंने इतना टाइम और एफर्ट डाला है ये रेज्यूमे टेलर कस्टमाइज करने के लिए. ऐसे दैट्स अगर मैं खुद किसी को हायर कर रही हूँ लगेगा कि अच्छा उन्होंने एफर्ट डाला है और that's to be honest that's the frustrating part about a job application process. मतलब बहुत क्योंकि हमारी तरफ से हम एक जॉब के लिए अप्लाई तो नहीं करते, कभी 10 जॉब के लिए साथ में अप्लाई करते हैं. तो टाइम और एफर्ट तो हमारा ज्यादा लगता है इस रेज्यूमे डालने में. इट्स इजियर टू यूज मेरिट वन, लेकिन अगर if you want to stand out and make yourself um, different from other people, then it helps to customize your resume for sure.
करना पड़ता है.
And what is the important thing that we add in CV?
What's like the most important thing like we should put it in a resume?
The most important thing that you should put is you highlight the right type of experience. You put in, make your experience that you have apply to the job that you're applying for. I would say that's the most important. When you're thinking about when you're reading the job application, thinking at that point, what have I done that fits this already? मैंने क्या already क्या स्कूल में पढ़ा है, क्या मैंने एक दो पुराने जॉब में किया है जो इसमें मैं यूज कर सकती हूँ या कर सकता हूँ. उस हिसाब से रेज्यूमे लेटर लिखना चाहिए.
Alright, questions here? Any questions, guys? So majority of the kids here don't have a resume, so it'd be really good if you do send a template because then from there, like, you can kind of cater them. कोई इस क्लास में कोई जॉब क्या?
Yeah.
So आपके पास CV नहीं है? है? और आपके resume मैम के सेम है या different है? अलग है? Okay, so you know what'd be really interesting? If like they bring their resume and I send it to you so you can see how different the culture is of like Western and Indian resumes.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Kind of see how we could. Oh, she has one. Oh, this is good. All right. So yeah, like it's very. I'm gonna kind of put it in front of you. Can you see me? Okay. So it's very like. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's very basic. Yes.
It's very basic in the sense, but they ask like different questions. Like they want to know your age.
Yeah, it's a biodata.
Yeah, it's a biodata. Yeah, and they want to know your height and like your gender. Whereas like on our resume, it's like it's really not like that.
This type of is there.
It's more like a biodata. Like, could you just show your resume again? So we're gonna compare and contrast resumes. Great. So this is Rupali's resume. This is Hargun's ma'am's resume. Okay. So ये resume और रूपाली resume both different है क्योंकि हरगुन मैम की resume में more information उसका experience के बारे में, whereas Rupali's resume more biodata है, age, height, speeding, typing is experience, which is good. But can you guys see in Hargun's resume experience column है, फिर सारे resumes listed, experience listed है. So it's more word, it's more information, whereas Rupali's resume is very birth date, address, very biodata type. So in order to be different, I think it'd be all interesting if we all kind of tried making a resume, like a Western resume, to see how Indians kind of look at it. Because this is good, but I feel like employers want to know more about your experience, which is good because Rupali does have her work experience and her qualification and her education. So I really want you guys to kind of observe how different resumes are in like the Western American, North American culture, whereas in India, they ask questions about like if you're married and stuff like that. It's very biodata type, right? So what do you guys feel about Hargun's resume?
I think it's very good because she's
Yeah.
giving her knowledge and what she done and his career or future.
So I think we can all agree saying that experience बहुत जरूरी है, right? Experience नहीं है तुम क्या डालोगे resume? Right? So job के साथ साथ तुम लोग जब experience build करते हो, फिर तुम resume को और strong बना सकते हो, right? So again, how do we build experience, right? Okay, so it's good that we kind of look at the different resumes that we have. Do you guys have any more questions now after seeing the difference between your resume and Hargun ma'am's resume? You guys can understand, but I think the goal is to have it more formatted with your experiences instead of biodata, age, your status, marriage status, your height. It should be more focused on experience, right? Because you want to. 1 second, we can't hear you. 1 second.